Hello, 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 everyone. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Getting JJ set up. Hope you had a great weekend. We are, sorry, I have something on my face. We are back in the office today. So, where is it? Come on. There we are. Sorry. Already 14 people on. You guys are so awesome. Okay, almost there. Pop it out. Yes, live from the office, Jason. Glenda, our weekend was awesome. It was awesome. We had so much fun, Charlotte. It was so nice to get away and to just unplug for a little bit. That was really awesome and very much needed. Back, thank you. Yes, thank you, Rob. And hello. Welcome to June. Isn't it crazy? It's like, I saw something on Facebook earlier, and I'm sure that you guys have probably seen it too, but it was like May's over, so now we've leveled up to level 90 of Jumanji. So no telling what's going to happen now. But it's been crazy. We actually did not win any money. We lost everything that we played. Hi, Jean. And with Line Colors, our niece is on. So happy to see you guys. It's been different working in the office today. A good different, but it's been different. Yeah, maybe next time, but you know, we had two thoughts. Either the slots were gonna be like really loose because they wanted people to come back, or they were gonna be really tight because they haven't got to, you know, nobody's played in like 2 months. So they were tight. We didn't win a dime. We're not big gamblers to begin with, and half the time we don't even know what we're doing, especially with slots. So we don't normally go and gamble. It's like when we go to Vegas, we might just a little bit, but not much. We're more there for the social life in the pool, to be honest. We were outside Saturday for 8 hours in the sun. It was delightful. Very, very awesome. 47 people on. You guys are so awesome. Appreciate you guys so much. Of a different setup here. We have the water behind us today. The fountain is going. It's not in the shot, but we'll see if I can get it. There's the fountain. I know that's, you know, not what they say. You're supposed to have the lighting. You're supposed to be facing the light, but we wanted to have the water behind. But there is the fountain. And sadly, I don't get to see any of this from my office because I'm right across the hall from JJ. So I just have a view of the parking lot. But I get to come over here and see all of this. It's absolutely beautiful here. Everything's so green, and we have these big cranes that come flying in, and the turtles with their little baby turtles. It's just absolutely adorable. So many people are on. We love you guys so much and appreciate you being here. We do have some emails to get to, not a lot, which means that you guys are we've helped you and you've gotten the answers. So we appreciate that. Your wife loves cranes? Yeah, Joshua's dad. I didn't get the pleasure of meeting him, but whenever we first came and looked at this place, he was like, my dad would have loved this because he would have wanted me to put a bench out here just so he could sit and watch all the birds and stuff come in. But sadly, we don't get to fish in it. there's a housing addition that's right across the way over there, and they actually own the rights to this little lake and everything. So we don't get the business side, we don't get to fish or do anything in it. But last year we did put some little motorized boats out on the water, and we played with them, and that was a lot of fun. You guys are getting a lot of Amanda time in here because he's out there dealing with his staff. Card Shop Realities in the house. I love it. Hope you had a good weekend. I hear him coming. I've tried to keep them. Yes. We have 50 people on.
What?
I know.
50 people on a Monday?
On a Monday.
What's going on?
I
Good
know.
to see everybody.
I just showed them the fountain and everything. So
Yeah.
I already showed all that off.
I really do have a real office.
He does.
Even though my home office would be a real office.
Yes.
We've got this plugged in, but did you show everybody?
Show everybody what?
Hey, Card Shop Reality. Well, we have to show them, like, make sure they know it's not a backdrop.
Oh, I did. I pulled it off.
Oh, you pulled it off already and you showed them the fountain and everything?
Yes.
Well, you're just perfect.
Yes.
Well, how's everybody doing this Monday? I know that I am anxious, as probably you are as well, with this PPP flexibility act. And I just double checked, and the Senate I don't see anything at all. I don't see boo about it. How am I looking there? I look kind of dark right here.
Well, you're going to be dark because you're not facing the light.
I'm going to be dark because we went away for the weekend, and I was in the sun, and I got a whole bunch of sun. Wow, look at all this. Wow, this is so cool. Did you show them the new setup?
No.
We'll see if this will work. But all right, so we got Nelson and Jean and Charlotte and Jason. How are you? And Glenda. Oh, okay, perfect. And Fred's on, and let's see, we've got Stephen Brothers Tax Service. How you doing? With Flying Colors. I love it. I love it. And we got Brent and Fred, and now Fred Lowe. Is that Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
I know.
Yes.
But he changed it.
Did he change it?
Because it used to say Frederick. Now it says Fred. And we got Will and Mike. What's going on?
Brian Gray.
Hope you're doing well. Brian, welcome. Good to see you again. And Esther. And let's see, we've got Rob. What's going on? Great to see you guys. Thanks for coming on. We got Bill Mack and Dax and Charlotte and Wayne, and we got Carol. Carol has really taken up the slack in the comments, so thank you so much for that, Carol.
Aww. Hi, Tracy. Tracy says she's working on being a potato.
Oh, well, perfect.
That.
Do I need to turn the other way? I don't know I don't know if it's better to have it like this, and maybe it's just better to go like this. Look at this. I even got Wall Street in the background. Is this a little better?
You want it over there?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're gonna just, I'll do it.
Okay. So the big news, as you all know, is the flexibility. And I bet if you're on, you probably saw the video that I posted last night. Yeah, I posted one last night, and I was trying to bring an angle that might be a little more interesting, which is kind of like what's the differences. And I know that it makes sense that the obvious difference is, well, if we have more time, then of course we have more time to, gather up expenses, payroll and utilities, but really nothing's as I'm seeing it. Now the House only passed it, you all know that. Senate still needs to vote on it. Not one thing that I found on it about it today. I know from a few of the comments, I didn't put much in the video as it relates to some of the minutia. I think with the House, they put together a bill. It was unanimous. The Senate indicated that they do agree. It seems that there's going to need to be some changes to it, meaning a longer period of time. I think the Senate might be wanting to more analyze. I mean, this is my pure opinion on it, but I think the Senate's going to want to more analyze then what is it that we need to do away with in terms of achieving forgiveness. Maybe it'll ultimately be the SBA. Am I looking at the right? Am I supposed to look here? So am I looking in the camera here, or am I looking in the camera there? Because I want to look into the camera. This is where the camera is, right? On this side? Okay. So sorry about that, but we've got our phone in it. Look, I think we got it going the other way to help it get charged here. But anyways, obviously the SBA will probably come out with the more clarifications, but I do think that it needs to be more thoughtfully considered, not from, well, let's make it 16 or 24 weeks. Let's do that for sure. Let's definitely make it longer. It makes sense from the standpoint of when the Paycheck Protection Program was put into play with the CARES Act on March 27th, of course. I mean, the sentiment at that time going into the end of March was that we would be back open mid-April. So we know that there's still a lot of you that are not open or partially open. And then there was just a lot of confusion as it related to, if your business is closed, are you really supposed to be using PPP funds? Yes, I mean, it was really meant to be that, but part of the analysis that's been done is for as many people that went on PUA compared to the number of businesses that received the Paycheck Protection Program, basically there's a big surge, more than they had thought, for who was being on PUA. So did it even work the way it was supposed to? And so what I like out of this is that we're going to move in a direction that I think will penalize the employer less, from the standpoint that if there's more time, then you can get people back on board. What I'm really hoping out of this, though, is that if we're given 16 weeks, if we're given, up to 24 weeks, what are they going to have us go back and compare to? And will they have us compare to February 15th to June 30, 2019, January 1st to February 29th, 2020 in terms of head counts, and then looking at salary reductions from February 15th to April 26th? What a crazy time period there, but it was 30 days past the enactment of the CARES Act. Not only that, then what was the head count during your payroll period, and then did you select an alternative payroll period? The other part is that I think that if they allow this, I'm really hoping for the self-employed. And I don't think I've said it on a video, but I was really hoping that out of this change, that for the self-employed, they just basically go, you know what, you got your dollars. It was based on a net of your business. It was net of rent. It was net of the utilities if you had it. It was net of all of your expenses. So guess what, self-employed? Let me be clear though. This is not what it's saying right now. This is just JJ hoping that this is the result of it, which is that for the self-employed, which is those that got the PPP based on their Schedule C, that they just go, you know what, it's just forgiven, or at least under a certain dollar amount. And I think we all know that, the maximum really that a self-employed individual could get was based on 100 grand. It's not going to be that we can have anybody go get more PPP. That's not what's part of this Flexibility Act. So to me, it seems like when I say big winner, I just mean properly. I don't mean it as it was a windfall. But I feel like for the self-employed, hopefully what comes out of this is a period of time that is long enough now for them to go, you know what, just self-employed, you're forgiven for it. You don't even have to really do anything other than sign a document saying that you used it, for the purposes of what it was intended, which was to support you. I was also really hoping, and maybe it'll come out in the Senate version, and then of course we have to have the House and the Senate come together and make decisions and then agree on a bill, and it has to be signed into law, so we still have a little ways to go on that. But it would be nice if they would kind of put to rest how PPP and PUA work together for the self-employed. I think it's pretty clear related to those that receive wages. It's an either or. You're either getting paid or you're not. And if you're not, you're getting PUA. But for the self-employed, I have a couple of videos on it. I'm sure you've seen it, where I talk about the inconsistency with the SBA. Not inconsistency, not at all. The SBA was just vague in saying that if you do get PUA, it may or it might affect your abilities to be able to also have PPP. Actually, it said the reverse. If you get PPP, it might affect your ability to get PUA or other unemployment insurance. So it'd be great if they could clear that up. I kind of feel like the self-employed, which is your sole proprietor, your independent contractor, your single member LLC that files a Schedule C. But anyways, those that file Schedule C, I feel like they've gotten the short end of the stick. And Amanda files a Schedule C. I have a Schedule C business. Really got the short end of the stick almost every step of the way. And I'm not saying that self-employeds should feel sorry for themselves, because I haven't come across any self-employed individual yet, even in our comments, that has anything really negative to say about it other than how does this really work. But my point is that if you remember, the self-employed was not even able to apply for it until April 10th, a full week after. And then they came out on April 8th and they're like, oh, well, you know what though, if you file a Schedule C, you can go ahead and apply for it now. Bottom line is that basically the self-employed was not allowed to apply to get first fruits, for lack of a better word. And we all know, right, PPP ran out. Then there was a delay. And they went and provided more money. Not at all am I saying this that we should feel sorry for ourselves, because I know you're not. But then there was a delay, and then it was, well, we have banks that are saying we need a business account, and then, well, this bank doesn't provide it, or you're not qualified according to this bank, or, you know, various organizations, which I won't name, but we know that don't really have a bank. They're just a banking institution online. You know, ones that start with a PP and one that starts with a K, and there seemed to be confusion, you know, well, you don't qualify, or your credit's not good enough. And it's like the self-employed it's been way too hard for the self-employed to get PPP. And then to come and say, okay, well, here's your automatic forgiveness. That's nice, right? Take what your line 31 is, divided by 52 times 8, automatic forgiveness. That's nice. But then you got these other dollars, and most self-employed people, they don't have separate utilities, and don't have separate rent. I'm sure there's plenty of self-employed that do, right? But point is that it would just be really wonderful if they would actually give a break in this regard to the self-employed and just go, you know what, you got your PPP. It was based on line 31. It's just forgiven. Now we're giving these amount of weeks, but they do need to make it clear on the PUA, because that was part of my concern. So we'll wait and see. I do know that we've got some questions. I know we've got a lot of comments here, so you want me to buzz through these, and thank you for Jason for that. Appreciate your comment. I'm going back up to the top, and let's see.
Wayne says JJ for Congress.
I love it. I love it.
And you have a copy of the actual bill itself, right? Because Card Shop said try to get yourself a copy of the actual bill itself, because his source says there's not even percentages in the actual bill, and that it's the media reporting these 75, 25, 60, 40 changes. So
yeah, and that's you know, I have taken a look at it, and that's part of where you know, you have to go with what's coming out of committee. The bill lays out a framework for it, sending it over to the Senate. The House has made it clear, in my opinion, that, you know, they're wanting a 60-40, they're wanting 24 weeks, the Senate is this. And that's where it's always very difficult to even try and comment related to a bill. And that's where in my video, it's like, well, here's where the House is, here's where the Senate is. So yeah, I appreciate that. And anytime I'm doing anything, I have reviewed it, but that's where I was like, you know what, let's look at the overview. And more the point of my video yesterday was more to say, well, you know, here's really where things are going to be the same. Here's where we might see changes, but what comes out of that. I know we had a few that commented that it appeared as though the way the House bill read was that there was a cliff, in the sense that if you don't use it, the 60%, then it was an all or nothing. That's got to just be bad language from my perspective, because the whole point of the Flexibility Act is to make it easier to qualify for forgiveness. So anyways, I know that when we say I just saw a last comment, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that, and that's where the sausage is made. And that's where, I will tell you this, until probably 4 years ago, my entire career, I wouldn't even pay attention to the sausage being made. It was, well, once it becomes a law, then I'm going to read about it. And those CPAs, those that have been practicing for a long time, as well as I do, it's like, well, until it becomes law, because typically, until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if there was a law change, like, everybody knew about it way in advance. It was rare, unless I know the Bill Clinton era, we had a retro tax rate. It was just rare that it was like in the moment, right now, starting tomorrow, in 2 weeks, retroactive back to 1/1, and then have tax laws change where they're now retroactive back to 1/1/18. So the point is that I do know my entire career, it's like, gosh, you start overanalyzing, getting too worried, too caught up, until it becomes law. We really don't know. But anyways, so.
Do you want me to start asking the questions?
Yeah, yeah, and then we do, the short answer is yes, but since we have some on here, do you want to go over these, or? Because who do we have emails from?
Okay.
Is anybody on that you recognize? The emails? I mean, you didn't recognize anybody. Okay. So why don't we bust through a few of these and that you've asked here, and then if we need more information, we may ask you to email us. But
all right. Esther says,
can you guys hear Amanda? Okay, she's a little further than normal because of the setup here.
All right. Esther says, can you confirm that owners won't be taken into consideration for forgiveness if they didn't receive a paycheck in 2019?
That is the way that the forgiveness application is reading. There could be an exception if you have somebody or a business that wasn't in business in 2019, so therefore it would be based on what's going on in 2020, because we know you had to have been in business on February 15th. And I know that they've addressed some of it, but I've not seen a lot of information related to the businesses that started this year. And so for the owners, if they have a new business in 2020, then there's going to have to be some kind of inclusion. But if you go through the application process, Esther, which you clearly have, but if you go through the application, the owners are not included in the calculations of determining FTE or the safe harbor or salary reduction. Simply when you go to that line item, the owner's comp, when you look at the SBA guidelines, is what did they get paid in 19? This would include the benefits as well, meaning the health insurance that would qualify, the retirement plan match. What was it to that owner in 2019 divided by 52 times 8, and that's the amount. So my understanding is the only way the owners are going to be included is for that. Now, I did a video on it just the other day, and I guess we put links in here to our videos? I don't know. So I did a video where I lined up the S Corp and C Corp compared to the sole proprietor, which sole proprietor is the self-employed, the independent contractor, and the single member LLC that's taxed down at the sole proprietor level. And then also lined it up to partners, general partners.
What video is it?
It's the one that has all the, down white, it lists every single title, probably in the last 4 days. Owner, employee, comp, it's all white. There's probably 7 different, and then PPP, green at the bottom. So check that one out. But here's the thing, with the Flexibility Act, I'm not seeing, and I really don't foresee them changing what qualifies. And I think they've gone through, and the SBA's gone through enough determinations. It's not that it'll just be that you have more time. Obviously, there's going to have to be a determination of, does the FTE still count? And if they're going to change it, that we have till December 31st, 2020 to replace employees. They're going to have to simplify this down. I know that they've come across a lot of criticism for how complicated that PPP application for forgiveness is. And for those that have been really kind of following and knowing what was in the law and how we have, we all knew that it was going to be a cumbersome with all the different information. So my biggest hope is that by them expanding the time period, maybe they will do away with this look back part. So what else?
Bill says, what form do new businesses need to have for PPP program?
Yeah, so if you'll look on page 10 of the application for the forgiveness, you will see, in essence, for whatever you're going to be turning in, what kind of documents that you would need. Did he say it was for self-employed? Okay, so look on page 10. You know, if you have payroll, it's talking about turning in your payroll records that you would be handing in to the government. And it does indicate in the May 22nd SBA guidelines that a lot of it you're going to retain yourself and have available if review. But the banks are going to take, in essence, what it is that you're providing them, and maybe other than looking for glaring errors, they're going to take whatever you provide almost on its face. And there is then some documents that you have to turn in, but a bunch that you have to keep for yourself. So check out page 10 of that. And then I have a video that is called My List of Documents, kind of a head start, my list of documents that you'll need. You can also go to jjthecpahelp.com, go to the forgiveness page, and then I have an SE forgiveness page. And on both pages, I've put together a list. You know, you'll see clearly on it, it's like, here's a head start list. Your bank may want something that's not on that list. We all know that when people were applying for the PPP, the banks were asking for things that weren't really required. So your bank may request things in addition to the list that I put together, but the list I put together is based on what the SBA is indicating. So for me, when I'm doing tax returns, which is kind of a parallel to this, my client's going to have all the receipts. My client's going to have the invoices. They're going to have the check copies. They're going to have the bank statements. What they're going to give me is the end result numbers. I'm not going to do a review or audit. I'm not going to go through and determine if something was personal or not. Now I'm going to look through a general ledger, and if you saw this weekend, I released, I think, seven or eight videos talking about the financial statements and the balance sheet, but there's one that says the not so secret general ledger financial report. So I'll look through the general ledger. Here's why I'm saying all this. Even though the IRS is going to just take a tax return that does not include financials for a business, the IRS is expecting that there are financials. They're expecting that there are records and books and most likely, you know, a general ledger or something similar. They're expecting that that small business owner has all the records and documents to back it up. So the reason I'm going through all of that is that it's like, you know, it's kind of a pyramid of what goes to the SBA. There's not a lot that's going to the SBA, but down at the bottom, you're going to have a lot of information that you need to have at your fingertips. And I do feel like the SBA will do some random reviews. And when they do a random review, they're just going to ask for all the tax documents. And I know that back in the, well, it was when the savings and loans thing went through and the FDIC were doing audits, and it was kind of ridiculous how many reviews there were, but part of it was there was really no restriction. They didn't really have a material consideration. It was like, well, we got to go and we got to look at, you know, 10,000 returns. So here's these and here's these and here's these. And then they're going to want it all the way down to the letter. So Mike's wanting to know if we won any big bucks.
Yeah, I already told him we did.
Yeah, it was. I think we kind of knew it.
Yeah.
Did you tell him how much we lost? $40.
I told him we weren't big gamblers, so yeah. YE says, hey, I filed tax as K1 in 2019 for my LLC, and on base of my 941 for first quarter of 2020, I got my PPP. Is it okay if I pay myself the same W-2 per month as I took in the first quarter?
Well, the short answer is that if you didn't pay yourself W-2 in 2019, the way that I'm reading it is that while you can pay yourself, it won't yield a forgiveness amount, because on the application, it is only allowing you to list what it is that you made for 2019. Now, if you started the business in 2020, which doesn't sound like that's the case here, of course, I would think that you would be able to put down, in essence, what you paid yourself in January and February, because that is a time period that they're allowing a look back to for other purposes. But if you didn't pay yourself W-2 wages, or you're not a general partner in the sense of having self-employed earnings for 2019, then you're not. But really, to do a deep dive, I think did we put a link already to the one where I just told you? Were you able to put a link
already in there.
Okay, so the link that I just put in will walk you through, especially if you have a circumstance that maybe was different in 19 versus 20. But I'll tell you this right now. If you didn't pay yourself wages last year and now you're paying yourself wages, based on what I know, unfortunately, I don't see that that amount would lead to forgiveness. I don't think there's anything wrong with paying yourself, but I don't believe that that would lead to forgiveness on that.
Mary Services 98 will the self-employed be allowed to get paid for hazard pay from PPP loan and be forgiven?
So with the self-employed, right, they're saying they're self-employed. So with the self-employed, unless we see a change with the Flexibility Act, it's simply the line 31 from your Schedule C divided by 52 times 8. You can't increase it, you can't decrease it. You don't have to substantiate how you spend it. You don't have to pull money out of the account per se. It's just, in essence, there's your automatic forgiveness amount, and then anything above that would have to be for the other expenses. So for the self-employed, it's kind of it's not an all or nothing. It's just, here's the amount that gets forgiven, no more, no less, which in some ways makes it a lot easier.
Charlotte is on her way to the bank to try to wire transfer her second PPP funds back to the SBA.
Oh, wow.
Remember, she got twice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you'll have to let us know how that goes, Charlotte.
Yeah. Well, and Charlotte, just one thing to note here is, hopefully it's going to work, but if it's not, you're definitely going to be able to show them your effort. And so, if the bank can't make it work or something like that, I'm not saying don't keep trying, but document that you're trying, make sure, any documentation you get today, if it's not successful, even if it sounds kind of silly, but I mean, if you're dealing with a banker, I mean, like literally handwrite, I was here today to try and do this, have whoever's there initial it, make someone initial it, because, a month from now that bank location may not be open, the person who's working may not be there anymore, they might go, who are you? So anyways, I just think as long as you're documenting it, you're going to be okay. You're not alone, because I've heard more and more stories like this. So keep trying on it, Charlotte. But if it doesn't go through today, don't get too, I'm not saying you'll get upset, but don't get too upset, because you are trying. And then if all else fails, the SBA, I don't even think has indicated, like, here's an address where you can mail it back. They're just saying you have to do it through the bank. And so what I was going to say is, if all else fails, I think we had suggested to somebody else, which was write a letter and here's the check, like, here you go, bank, or institution, I'm sending it back. And even if they send it back to you and like, oh, you mailed it to the wrong address, but you're now showing effort towards it.
Paper
So,
trail.
yeah, paper trail on that. So keep a good idea on that.
Amy asked if sole proprietors will be able to pay themselves for more than 8 weeks.
Yeah, so on the sole proprietor, it's that one video I just put in. Take a look at that. But and you probably asked it before you heard my answer on the other one. But it's line 31 divided by 8 times. I'm sorry, line 31 divided by 52 times 8. That's the amount you get. Now the Flexibility Act, we'll wait and see what could come into play there. So I know someone had commented and they said I had heard. So let's make sure we read that one. I don't.
It just said it's from P. Rick, and he said, I'm hearing different things about the Eidl advance.
Oh,
like
okay.
Some people who got denied still got the advance, while other people who got the loan didn't get an advance, and all kinds of other variations.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to read it, because I saw it real quick and I didn't think it had to do with the PPP. Yeah, I'll tell you what, on that Eidl, and I did do a couple of videos talking about what you can use it for, and there's really 4 kinds of Eidl loans, for lack of a better word, which you have the advance, you have the amount up to $25,000, which is kind of known as the express. Then you have an amount above the $25,000 up to $250,000, which doesn't require guarantee, but it will require collateral. And then you have above $250,000 that's going to require guarantee and collateral. But it's all still under the same program. And you're right, because the Eidl advance is not supposed to be based on credit. Now, we do know a number of people that they saw their credit was dinged for it, so to speak. And the reason they were dinging for it was just to see, I think, did you have any defaults on any federal loans? Because it was not based on credit. They're very clear on it, on the advance portion. But we all know that, and I think Carol had commented along with me on this one too, but the Eidl advance, no matter what time frame you got it, is going to be a reduction in your loan forgiveness, whether you got it January 31st through April 3rd or after that. Originally, when you look at the application for the Paycheck Protection Program, it only referenced January 31st through April 3rd. And then after that point, in essence, it was just $1,000 per employee, max 10 grand. Now, on the Eidl, well, I feel like it's a lax of qualification. It still does require the qualification. So if they had indicated that people got the advance, but they didn't get the loan, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really what's interesting here is that the Eidl came into play before the CARES Act even was known. CARES Act wasn't born. No one had even thought about the Paycheck Protection Program. And there was the Eidl. And the Eidl was, if you're going to apply for this, you can get an advance while you're waiting. And then the advance came, and then they were like, well, if you get the advance, even if you don't qualify for the loan, you don't have to pay it back. Well, then as things started speeding up into this crisis, in essence, it just really turned into people just applying for the advance, or so they thought. And so then it came to, well, you get the advance, and that was supposed to be while you're applying. But like I said, if things started to move so fast, people were just getting the advance. But it's really been in the last couple of weeks that we've seen a number of people that they got the notification from the SBA directly, like, hey, you qualify or you don't qualify. And what's interesting as related to this is you do still have to work with an SBA lender. And so that's where I think the difference is in the advance versus the loan is the fact that the advance was kind of like PPP before there was PPP. It was meant to be the, hey, we're just going to help your business. And if they would have, in my opinion, if they would have kept Eidl away from payroll, meaning it almost would have been better that they would have said, if you're getting Eidl, you can't use it for payroll. Now, this is not the case at all, but hear me on this. The ones that have gotten left out in the cold on this Paycheck Protection Program are those that own real estate, those that have tenants, those that have a mortgage and they're relying on a tenant to pay the rent to then pay the mortgage. So we are, I think, looking at a pretty serious real estate crisis, unfortunately, gotta be coming up. It's just an obvious. But the EIDL is before they started basing it on employees, was just in essence 10 grand for the business. And from my perspective, that's what a real estate entity would probably need. Now, if you're a real estate entity and you've got, 5, 10, 15 properties, obviously 10 grand wouldn't be enough. But at the end of the day, yeah, the EIDLs kind of had two phases. And you probably all remember, but there was a period of time, maybe there might have been 3 weeks where EIDL was not paying out at all. You could apply for it, but it wasn't paying anything out. And that's where, I believe it was in Massachusetts, the SBA, local SBA department came out and indicated in their local publication that it was going to be $1,000 per employee, and it wasn't until weeks after that. And then now we know the EIDL is only for those in the agricultural business. So.
Jasmine is asking, as a truck driver, EIDL loan, can I use it as working capital, like purchase fuel, maintenance on my truck, since that is my business structure, my truck?
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, thanks for the question on the EIDL. I appreciate that. We've been talking a lot of PPP, and then I appreciate the question on this. And in all sincerity, hey, thanks for. I'm sure you were working all the way through all this, or even if you took some well-deserved time off or whatever. Point is that our truck drivers, is how they've referred to themselves, they've been at the front line and in terms of keeping the economy alive. I mean, you talk about all the stores needing to be, stocked, and you're talking about the stores needing to be restocked more often, and how stuff travels across the country. And truck drivers, I mean, they're having this. They're still out. There was, even though we could think like, oh well, a truck driver, they're just in their truck all day. Well, I mean, they got to get out, they got to interact, they got to get gas, they got to, they got to use public restrooms, they have to shower up, they've got to get food to go, and throughout all of that, they just were doing it. And so, but yes, so everything that you just said for the EIDL, and if you don't mind, there's a video I did, and it's the EIDL use. The use of the EIDL. Yep. It's the shorter one. There's like 5 minutes, 18 seconds. But absolutely, because the EIDL is meant to be, and I love your terminology there, the working capital. It's meant to be, what do you need to keep going? I'm going to note to you, just in case, there are provisions in there that says that it can't be, for repairs, but repairs to a vehicle that you're using, like a truck, that's wear and tear. So hear me on that. If you had to replace a tire, even if it was a blowout, oil changes, tune-ups and things to that effect, it may feel like a repair any other year. It's like, I got to repair my tire, or I got to replace my tire. But with a truck driver, that's working capital, meaning it's not like, well, I have to have tires to get on the road. Well, that's obvious. But when you look at the law on the description of replacing tires and oil changes and then those things, those don't really fall into repair. That's under wear and tear. Repair would be, your truck, blew a gasket kind of thing. And if you had to do a repair. Now, at the end of the day, know this. If you have to do a repair, you have other dollars that can do it, so hopefully you got your EIDL to spend on other things. But I will tell you this, yes, on your gas, your insurance, any licensing, your tolls, your food, your travel, any of the fees that you have. I mean, I don't have any truck drivers anymore, but when I first started, I had a number of truck drivers. I've worked with a single company that had a lot of them, and then because they were independent contractors, I worked with a lot of truckers. But fees to take a shower and all those things, because you're on the road, you're able to, deduct all those things, which I know you're not asking about the deductions. So for EIDL, here's what it would count for a truck driver is if you went and bought a new rig, if you had to buy some equipment. It sounds funny that you would think EIDL would cover that stuff, but it doesn't. But it sounds like you're on point. Didn't mean to give such a long answer, but I really did want to be thorough because I appreciate you tuning in. And thanks for the question, and then thanks for everything you're doing.
All right, this is from La Vida Loca, and they said, "Hi JJ, has there been a definition of owner-employee?"
Yes, so an owner-employee is going to be strictly, paying yourself a wage. So when you're talking about employee, that's like W-2 employee. So if you're a partnership, you are not allowed to be an employee. I don't know why this is the case, meaning like this has just been the law since I've started practicing. It really doesn't make any sense to me, but if you own a partnership, you're a partner in a partnership. You can't pay yourself wages. And if you are owning a sole proprietor, right, you're filing a Schedule C, you cannot pay yourself wages. So owner-employee would fall under if you own an S Corp or a C Corp and you're paying yourself wages. And then for the owner, I've not seen anything though on the percentage that you would have to own to be considered an owner-employee. When you look at the other parts of the tax law, which I know really could have no bearing on this, but an over 2% shareholder has all these different provisions and reporting requirements if you're an over 2% shareholder. So all I can say right now is that I see no threshold, so whatever percentage you own in an S or a C, if you're paying yourself wage, it appears that you're falling under that owner employee. And I don't know that we'll see any difference on that, but that's where that would come into play. If you check out the video that I did, which is, and if you don't mind, maybe you could pop it in, the one that's got all the different descriptions, owner, employee, sole proprietor. But what's interesting is when I threw that up on the whiteboard, it really puts everybody in the same position. You take your wages from 2019, and that's, divided by 52 times 8. You take your, general partner self-employment earnings or your guaranteed payments divided by 52 times 8. And then you take line 31 divided by 52 times 8. So they really did put everybody in the same bracket. When I say that, like the same qualifications. The only thing, and I put it in the video here, is that you are not able to include your health insurance or your retirement benefits. According to the SBA, this is literally what they say in the guidelines. I mean, they specifically state that the self-employed, which is your sole proprietor, independent contractor, that's filing a Schedule C, or your partners do not get to include the health insurance or their retirement benefits. Where if you're an owner-employee, wages, S Corp, C Corp, you do get to include that just to the extent of what was the amounts for 2019. So anyways, yeah, thanks for the question on that. I appreciate that.
Ravi's asking, can we use alternate payroll covered period for the semi-monthly payroll, or is it applicable only for biweekly or more frequent payroll?
Yeah, great question. I will tell you this. When you read it, it appears that it is only meant for the biweekly or the weekly, right? Meaning if you were to just look at the application and it talks about it. But when you then look at the SBA guidelines, it indicates that you can use the next payroll period. It still references the biweekly. I think that when you now really look at the SBA guidelines that came out May 22nd, okay, that's the ones I'm referring to, and they came out with a number of guidelines. The guidelines you'd want to look at are the ones that are called forgiveness. Like, and if you go to my website, jjthecpahelp.com, and if you watch the video that we just put in there, I reference it. But on my website, I have it, and it says SBA guidelines, and then it says forgiveness specifically on it. And if you look in that and you go to that section that talks about it, I don't want to go out on a limb on this one. I really don't, because we're getting ready to have the flexibility. We're going to have some changes to that. But what I'm telling you is, it really does seem like that if you had a semi-monthly payroll period, the way that it reads, it seems as though you could probably include it. And here's why. What's very interesting about the calculation is that what they made clear in the guidelines, and I know it was Tony in Florida, and it was Mike, and maybe Dax, and anyways, what we were all talking about is like, okay, the application says paid and incurred. The guidelines say paid or incurred, which we didn't have the guidelines until a full week after, and they sent it out late Friday afternoon going into Memorial Day weekend. But point in saying all that is that really what it seems to make clear is that if you're paying payroll in your covered period, even if it included a period of time before that, and Clay knows this because we emailed about it, but even if it includes a time period before your covered period, it counts. And then whatever's incurred during the covered period, even if you pay it after the covered period, it counts. So here's what I'm going to say. My official answer would be no. I hate to say no. My official answer would be no, because they go out of their way to talk about biweekly. And they talk about it in the application. They talk about it in the guidelines. They know that there's a semi-monthly. It seems as though they would have indicated semi-monthly. But more what I'm getting at is, okay, so take someone that is semi-monthly, and in essence, well, the payroll period that ends in the first part of your PPP forgiveness covered period, even if it's not the alternative, well, it's going to count even if it's the prior. So I think what the heartache would be potentially, but it's only got to be by a couple of days, is, you know, the semi-monthly could push something out a little further. But I'm telling you, when you read the, for lack of a better word, the spirit of the guidelines, it seems like the semi-monthly would just, you could pick it as an alternative. But I am telling you, officially, my official answer would be no. But I just don't see why it still wouldn't work. But pay attention, or I know you are, but I'm saying, let's definitely be paying attention, because I wonder when they talk about the PPP Flexibility Act, I wonder if they're not going to address some of this. So I know we were talking at the beginning of this, we're talking about the bill. And I know that it's like, oh, but you know, it says this and it says that, and in same thing. I mean, at this point, I'm reading all that stuff. I'm loving reading it. I know there's the cliff, but you know, some of it for me is that I feel like, I mean, this is going to sound, I don't mean it to sound arrogant, but it's more like when I'm reading some of these things that are put in it, it's like, yeah, but there's no way that's going to work itself out. So there's no way that's going to be in the final. Just the way is that, I mean, before the CARES Act was actually put into law, you know, I stayed up all night reading all of it. And then once it was passed, I stayed up all night reading it. And then I put together all these videos. And more to say that I've been keeping up with how it's developed. And so one of the things that I just don't think we'll see is that, and I'm kind of going into another subject on the PPP, which is, you know, since before it became law, I've known that, okay, you're not going to be able to deduct the expenses of what you're using your PPP money for, because it's a grant. It's a grant, and then it's a loan for what's not forgiven or not used. Bless you.
Thank you.
So, and the reason I know that is that grants have been around forever, and that's how a grant works. And so even though our, esteemed, our wonderful, public servants that are in Congress and in the Senate, are beating their, podium saying, oh, well, that's not our intent, and it was supposed to be tax-free, and, you should be able to deduct your expenses. It's like, well, there's no way that's going to play itself out, in my opinion. It's also not fair, to be honest. I mean, it's not fair to those that didn't get PPP. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I got PPP myself. I have clients that got the Paycheck Protection Program. It sounds weird to say, well, why are you saying that, JJ? Well, if we can deduct the expenses that was used for PPP money, okay, great. My only thing is how is that going to come to fruition when there's no precedence for that? And Congress's intent would have to be then re-reviewed for every federal grant there ever was, and there would be just a huge mess related to it. So anyways, at the end of the day, the things that I had put into, the video that I put in there, because I even told Amanda, I was like, I don't really want to do much on the PPP flexibility because it's just going to change. And one of the things I hate is I put a video out there and, I don't want things to change. When I first did the first videos, I did 4 videos right here. You guys have never seen them because they only aired for 4 or 5 days. And it was all about how all the tax credits going to work. Well, then when the sausage finally got done, they changed like two little things, and now all videos were completely irrelevant. So if you'll notice, the videos that I've been doing, I've not done a full walkthrough for the employers. I've been covering the part of the forgiveness part that I feel like, this is really going to be how it works. FTEs, the owner compensation, the penalty, if you have a reduction in the salaries, there's going to be some of that. I did do a full walkthrough for the self-employed because I don't see that that's probably going to change. So I've been trying to put together videos that I feel like will, I don't want to say stand the test of time, but that they won't be irrelevant. Because the worst thing is to put a video out there, and I can't we've done so many videos now, I can't really keep up with, even though I know that there's been some videos in the past, I'm like, dang it, I got to take that down because the employee retention credit's not working like that. So anyways, that way when you're watching the videos, hopefully you'll know, okay, this should still be in play other than maybe a tweak or two.
Carol asked on top of the question about the payroll, she said, can the alternate payroll period be incurred entirely before the loan distribution date? I think it only says paid and incurred. It doesn't say or.
Yeah, so if you look at, and on this, I want to be accurate. So I'm going to have to pull this out. Looks like I can keep in there. So what I'm going to do here real quick is, how do I get to the internet? Here?
Yeah, just make a new tab.
Well, it still looks like I'm dark. Maybe I need
You're
to
not.
face this way.
You're not.
Okay.
And while he's looking that up,
I'm going to type this up real quick.
While he's looking that up, want to remind all of you guys to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you are new here, and that you are also giving a thumbs up. And just a reminder on our announcement that we did on Friday, that Group 300 videos will now be moved over to my channel, The Amanda, and that will be starting tomorrow morning. So I will put a link in here, so if you guys want to keep up with Group 300 as well as any videos that I may do, head over to The Amanda and make sure that you are subscribed, because we're going to push those videos over onto that channel.
Yeah, which is awesome. And one of the reasons that we're doing that is that, and I'm looking, but one of the reasons that we're doing that is that Amanda, and based on her book and her philosophy and what she's doing on social media and wants to do on her YouTube page, is a lighter side of Group 300. And we have some friends. That they do a daily. What's theirs called? Andy.
Highly caffeinated conversations with Amy and Andy.
So yeah, it's a couple that they do what she just said, and it's a real hit. And you know, with my group 300, we have some wonderful, you know, I mean, I won't go on because I'll forget some people, but I know, like, you know, God Dozer, Flying with Colors, Glenda, Carol, Clay, Fred. I know I'm already missing like 14 people, you know, 45 people, but Rob. Long story short, that they love and watch.
Yeah.
You know, the 300 every morning,
yeah.
right? Well, I guess it's not for everybody because, you know, I think I said from the beginning, I'm not doing it for the views.
No.
You know, we're getting 200 to 300 views on the group 300. So then it's like, well, how do we make it more effective? How do we have some JJ in there, but, you know, seeing what Andy and Amy are doing. And then we've done some videos. And so really what it comes down to is, I think with Amanda, it's going to be more popular.
Oh,
I think it'll be better. It'll be more encompassing. We can still have maybe a little bit of the grit. So we're going to try out kind of, it's still meant to be the same.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think one of the things I love about Amanda is that she has a group 300, you know, mentality as well. And I mean, there are times I'm like, wow, like, you know, will you go talk to them? Because no, like in a good way.
Kind. Yes.
In a good way. So, okay, let's see. Real quick, you're still on the camera.
Very kind, CSR, thank you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and CSR every single day, like immediate. Yeah. So if you look, it was Glenda, right? Or was it Carol?
Carol.
So Carol, the only reason I was questioning is they have the same color icon.
I know.
Carol and Glenda. So if you look on the SBA guidelines, and it's on page 8 and 9, it's technically on 9, the one that's for the forgiveness, and you go to 3A, it actually says there the or. That's what I was saying earlier, is that on the application, which I'm going to pull up. So what we're talking about here is the PPP forgiveness application, and this is where there was a number of us, probably Carol included, that, you know, in the beginning we were looking and we're like, okay, wait a second. This is saying, you know, on the application here, let me look here. This is some good technical stuff. I'm loving this. Thank you, everybody, for being on.
Yes.
And let's see.
And thank you for all the thumbs up. We appreciate that. All that does is bump JJ's video up to the top, so that way more people will come on and get his golden nuggets of knowledge.
Nah, I appreciate that. But in the application, and I don't want to bore you guys here, but if you look at the video, I point out where, but in the application it says and if you look at the SBA guidelines, it says or. And dang it, where is it? I'm just going to take 30 more seconds. Bear with me. Do we have another question getting ready to queue up here?
Yeah. Our next question is going to come from Jay.
Okay, hang on.
Who is still on.
Okay, good. Hang on a second. Okay, yeah. Well, gosh darn, it's in the first sentence. So on page 2 of the application for forgiveness, it says borrowers are eligible for forgiveness for payroll costs paid and payroll costs incurred during. So you're right, it does say that, but then, and I know you're probably already looking, but on 3A, it says the or. So hopefully someone's still here to grab the phone. So anyway, hey, yeah, thanks.
You want me to go?
Thanks for pointing it out. You want to see who it is? And then, okay. Oh, no, I heard somebody.
Okay. All right.
Okay, next one.
From Jay, and he says...
Am I blurry?
A little bit, but it's just going in and out. The Wi-Fi's been, and you're not on Wi-Fi, and because it wasn't working, so.
I'm not on Wi-Fi.
No, we're not on Wi-Fi because it wasn't working.
Do they know that?
Well, it's been going in and out, and it
Sorry, guys.
started whenever I got on. So we can try to connect to it again because mine's working pretty good. You want me to do it?
No one probably cares.
Just slide it.
Right, they're like, JJ, we're here for the...
Hold, please.
God damn it.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
Oh, JJ's gonna get us.
I know, and I even dropped the GD. That's just awful.
Well, hello, now you're up close and personal with me.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like it's clear now, so it worked.
Okay, me to touch it.
Yeah, it's not.
Is it not?
All right, we'll just
It's
keep
going
going.
in
We
and
don't keep
All right.
people waiting.
This is from
Thank
Jay.
you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for trying.
If you spend enough in 10 weeks for full forgiveness, do you believe we would be able to submit application then, or do we have to wait the full 24?
You know, I think that if you've met, even now, the requirements, you'd be able to apply for forgiveness when you've met all the requirements, and especially if the FTEs aren't affecting you. But I do know that right now, even if you've met all the requirements, one of the requirements is to have second quarter Form 941. And so I think it would be a matter of, do you have the documentation that is needed? My hope is that if they do go with this provision that you have till December 31st, 2020 to replace your employees, that they would put a provision in there like, well, it's no later than 12/31, but if you've replaced everybody, you know, demonstrate that. I hope that we don't have to wait the first the additional 24 weeks. So I don't know about that other than, so I'm just not sure. Great question. But I do know with the, you know, even with it just being 8 weeks, no one's going to be able to apply immediately. They'll have to wait.
Mike Fisher, JJ, I applied for ERC in April before I applied for PPP, and in May received PPP. Just received ERC check yesterday. Do I send back the check, or is it added to my 2019 941?
Yeah. So great question on that, and I will tell you this: in Tom and Mike.
All right. Are we still on? I think we're still on. Let me know. It looks like we are. I see 64 of you. Hi! Yay, we are back and it's working. Sorry about that. But we are back and back in action. We appreciate you guys being so patient with us. Yay! I'm so glad. I love it, Greg. I know. I'm just going to tell him that's my job. Leave it alone. So you just got to love technology. It has been a Monday. Yeah, I think the cell phone's charging. I sure hope so. Yeah, we blew up the internet. We broke it. Yeah, we are charging. So, yep, we shouldn't have touched it. It was working fine. And now, this back out. One of your 2 cell phones is down to 2% batteries. AirPods also dead. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, Kelly. It has been Monday. I know. Well, no, I show 52 likes on my end, so we do appreciate you guys. No, not on your end, Carol. It was on ours, but we should be okay now.
Does it seem like we're...
Hamburger steaks and potatoes. Oh, card shop. He always makes me hungry with this food. Yeah, we're back up.
We are back up. Okay.
We are back up.
All right. Sorry about that, y'all. It just figured instead of... Does it seem like it's staying connected?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
We are getting new internet. Not that it has anything to do with this, but on Thursday. So thanks for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. And what...
I don't know that I'll be able to find it again.
Yeah, what... I think we might have been talking about...
It was about Jay's question and... No,
Did we go through that one?
I'm just saying
What
I
is...
lost you, so it started me all back over.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, let's see. Ravi said, thank you, JJ. That was very helpful whenever you answered his. Let's see. Daryl Dugan, CPA, but the alternative payroll period must start after the PPP money drop day.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for that, Daryl. Yeah, when we're talking about the, someone had a question about the semi-monthly and whatnot. So yeah, it definitely still has to start after. But the thing is that, well, wait a second. Let me make sure. Well, Daryl, on this, yeah, Daryl, if you don't mind, watch the video that I put together. And on that video, I walk through and compare it, and I'm pretty detailed. The one that says 10 weeks on it. And does it say 10 weeks on it? Can you look at is it that one? Because I have utilities, and then I've got one that's called, Daryl, I would like for you to watch it, so I want to make sure I can find the right one. And
PPP 10 weeks of payroll included?
Yeah.
That one?
So watch that one if you would, and be curious on that. So maybe it was with DAX then. But if you read through the SBA guidelines and you read through just if you read through it, and I'm not saying that you haven't, but I will say this, that particular video, someone from the SBA watched it, and they, in essence, concurred with how I presented it. So take a look at that, and I agree with exactly what you're saying, that the alternative has to start after, and that might be more what you're getting at, is that the alternative has to start after, and therefore, though, if you're using the alternative, it would be if you paid it during the alternative, which can be at the very beginning of the alternative, that it could still end up including it. So I literally walk through, though. Is Daryl still on, or is that an old question? Daryl, you still on?
Daryl is still on.
Okay, so Daryl, watch that video, because I put it up on the whiteboard. I talk exactly what you're talking about. I put the alternative, I put the covered, and I show how the covered period includes more weeks than it would if you did the alternative. So give me your feedback on it. If you would, just email me on it. Let me know your thoughts, because I'll just be honest with you, that we're not able to keep up with the comments. I am back in the office now, so for all of you that are tuning in, use the email. I mean, we're trying to keep up with the comments, but I'm just telling you, Daryl, likely, so let me know your thoughts on it. If you already have watched it, I guess email me your thoughts on it as well.
This is to answer Stacy's question about the Group 300. And she says it's been on her catch-up list. All the existing videos will remain on JJ's channel. It's just going to be new ones that are going over to mine. So
yeah, well, that's very nice. Thank you.
Michael says, for PPP loan forgiveness, if it is extended to either 16 or 24, does it have to be the first 8 weeks after funding, or can you use it on the back end so you can continue with PUA first?
Yeah, we don't know. And really, I would hate to even speculate on something like that. But I do feel like, though, what's not going to change is when it starts counting. And if you know, probably none of you were watching my videos back in the very beginning, but the Senate had passed something that it was retro. This is in the very beginning. And then when the House got through, it was not retro in terms of the payroll that could be included. And I think that's what messed up the ERC. Because if you really look at how that sausage was made on the CARES Act, the Senate said you can have payroll and it goes back, you know, the payroll that you paid going back to a prior date counted, because in essence they were wanting to take care of the employers that had already paid all their employees. And that's why the CARES Act said so you can't do an ERC, the Employee Retention Credit. Well, then the House, you know, it went through the House and there was not a retro to it. And, you know, when there's changes being made to such a major bill that then became law, you know, you make one change and you forget that it's gonna maybe affect this. And when I say they forget, I understand that we're dealing with a ton of people looking at it, but, you know, that's why I was so adamant. Oh, I know, this is why I was so adamant that you should be able to take the ERC. So is the person who asked the question about they got PPP here in May, but they just got their check from ERC, the Employee Retention Credit. Is that person still on with us, or did they have to hop off?
They're not on.
Okay, well, if you're on and you heard the question, I would think you would need to return the check to the IRS. Because the IRS has made it clear.
Oh, yeah, yes, he is here then, it's Mike Fisher. I got it confused.
Okay. So Mike, my thought process is that, and my hope was that when you read the CARES Act, and you read in the detail when it talks about the Employee Retention Credit mixed in with the Paycheck Protection Program, it indicated that the IRS, specifically in the law, indicated that the IRS, it said that wording, but in essence what the law said was that the IRS is going to have to determine how this interacts with itself. You know, how does the ERC interact with PPP? And it indicated that if somebody got PPP after they got the ERC, the IRS would have to then look at how is that recaptured, and how is that taken into account. So I know that you've gotten your PPP and then you got your ERC, and I think you fall in those exact categories. Now, when you look at that Form 7200 and you go into the instructions and you go into the minutia, it indicates that if you got PPP, you don't qualify for this credit. But in the exact circumstances that you're in, or your client, okay, you went and got ERC and then later you decided to get PPP, because there's plenty of people that PPP ran out, so they went and got ERC. I mean, we had a number of comments and it's like, well, go get the ERC. I even had a video like PPPs ran out, and I had like a video I shot before I went live. I remember on that Friday, and I said, stop what you're doing right now, get to your office or home and complete Form 7200 immediately. Stop what you're doing. There's nothing more important. So I think the best course of action is that you'd return it, and here's why. They have not said what we need to do. I've looked a number of times because I was hoping that there was going to just be maybe some kind of recapture in the essence of, you know, it's a reduction of the forgiveness. But since they've not spoke to it anywhere on, well, what happens when that occurs, I think you have a little bit of time. You could probably, you know, wait and see. Maybe don't you or have your client, you know, cash it, and then see if they come out with something, because this has got to be, you know, I think the third person I know of that either you or your client got the check. So surely the SBA is going to have to come out and clarify this, since the IRS has not. So your question was, should you mail it back? My response would be, well, don't deposit it, wait. I guess after a 30-day period, or going on 30 days, if there's no action
their name, but they are one of our wonderful friends and diehards that have sent an email. But he says, how do I express my disappointment to my current CPA that I didn't hear a peep about PPP from him? I get an email, a call, a text, etc. If it had not been for me watching the news and JJ, I could have very well missed out, especially with the first one.
Uncommon. It's refreshing, so I'm not sure.
Can you guys see him? Is it buffering on your end as well?
Okay. All right, so what is CSR out of here? He's tired of the... Okay.
No, it says you're back now, not buffering anymore.
Okay, so sorry about that. Really disappointed in our Wi-Fi here, but we're getting new Wi-Fi on Thursday or something, and so pretty ridiculous. The amount of money that I pay here for Wi-Fi and phones, it better be fixed on Friday, or this is really frustrating. Okay, so what I would say is this, that's not uncommon that the tax professional or the EA or the CPA didn't tell their clients about it. I know that in Oklahoma, I know of a number of CPAs or firms that just said, you know what, we're not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's not what we do. I did a number of videos for CPAs, EAs, and tax pros, and I said, you know, you really need to pick your lane here. And where I was kind of maybe expressing where to pick a lane, though, with my fellow tax professionals, EAs, and CPAs was, you know, your interpretations to allow clients to maybe invite you to help them find ways that lead to forgiveness when they really are milking the system. So I've really not communicated, you know, much about, like, nothing with my clients about, like, oh, well, if you give this person a raise, and then, well, if you hire that person, and that's what I'm talking about. So, you know, I think that there's a ton of liability in this. I've had a number of people tell me, they're like, I can't believe you're doing all these videos. Don't you think there's liability? And if those that have been watching, you'll notice, like, I don't know, probably a month ago, I've got these big disclaimers that go on every video. And if you go to my website, I got a full page disclaimer, and I have a link to a disclaimer. Quite frankly, bring it on. I mean, if someone's going to sue me because I'm giving out free information on YouTube, I don't think it would go anywhere. But what?
I said, I just love you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. What?
You just today.
Oh, so point is that you know what? I wouldn't express it. You know, they're doing you a solid job on your taxes. You know, here's where you should be disappointed. You know, I personally experienced this, and but it's really the banks that should have been. If you're banking somewhere, the bank should have been telling you about this. The bank should have been helping you. So I don't want to beat up on the banks anymore. All they did was accept money and hand it out, meaning, like, what else are they supposed to do if that's all that's required of them? I do feel like that the banks, if you look at the last set of SBA guidelines, have really let the banks, you know, kind of off the hook with having to help. So again, it's hard to, I mean, why beat up on the banks? I mean, it's the SBA that has said, you know, like, oh, it's okay, you know, it's okay, banks, you know, oh, we just don't want you to work so hard. It gave you what's 5% of, like, I don't even know, I don't think the full amount went out, but you take 659 billion, 659 billion times 0.05%. What is that? 32 billion in fees that were paid out, and the SBA and the government is telling, I'm doing this while I'm talking to you right now. The SBA and the government is going to just say, hey, banks, you know, just take the app, just take the app from them, and you know, just whatever they put down, you can just go with it, because that's what they finally did with the PPP application. It was just like, I don't know, just take it, bank. You know, you don't have to worry about it at all. Just they put a number down, go with it. And now you have people like, you know, Charlotte, that's like, okay, how do I return it? The bank's like, no, I don't know. So, you know, really, I don't even know what the question was related to that, because I've been kind of bothered by our Wi-Fi. What was the question on that?
This whole thing is about what would you do to express your concern with your
yeah. Here's my point. I think you should express your disappointment in the bank if they didn't tell you about it. I mean, I bank at a wonderful bank, but I had to reach out to them, and they said, oh yeah, you know, it's still early. And then I had to reach back out, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll get you something. And then I had to reach out, and they're like, oh, hey, here's you know, here's the application, you know, let us know if you have any questions. So it's not at all that they didn't do their job, but honestly, I thought that for sure the banks, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say, here's who you should be pissed off at, your banker. And if your banker didn't help you, that's who you should be pissed off at. And if your banker's not going to help you, that's who you should be pissed off at. Because the way I look at it, I don't care what you're required to do or not do. You have somebody that you gave $100 grand on, and you're going to collect a $5,000 fee for doing this for like 38 minutes. And it wasn't even you, the banker, it was one of the staff. You're going to do this for 38 minutes and then go, oh, here's your money, and you're going to hand it out. You're getting a new bank account out of it, and you're going to pick up $5 grand. When I have to do, you know, like I have to work with a client all year and do multiple tax returns and sit with them for hours and hours and hours to make $5 grand. And you filled out some paperwork, and then you're like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm not gonna be able to help you, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, I wouldn't be upset with them. And I'm glad that you tuned in. I'm glad that you heard about it. But, you know, at the same time, it'd be the same, I think, in some ways. You know, if your lawyer didn't tell you about it, your financial advisor didn't tell you about it, you know, your advisor should have mentioned some things. But, you know, it's not really their job. It should have been the banks, you know. It should have been the banks. And I will tell you this, the bankers I was working with, that where I got my PPP loan was not where I normally bank. But the banks I was working with, they were emailing their clients, they were calling them, they were letting them know. They were like, hey, if you're gonna apply for this, do this. So they, like every client of theirs, they were letting them know. So anyways.
And I will just say, as personal experience, I have 2 business accounts at 2 separate banks. Neither one of those banks reached out to me. So if it had not been me going through JJ's bank, a connection that he has, I wouldn't have been able, you know, or even knowing JJ, I wouldn't have had anything, but my bank never reached out. So
yeah, so I hear you on it, but if they're doing a solid job, you know, now if you're looking for an excuse to fire somebody, you know, you could use that as an excuse, but nonetheless, if they're doing a solid job for you, but you might ask them though is maybe just ask them why. I mean, you never know, they just, you know.
Anyways, he did say, he commented and said you were talking about his question. So that was from Jason, Darkwater Meg. So
Okay.
That was his question.
Gotcha. All right.
Card Shop is enjoying that the internet has brought out all kinds of new characters with you. So, what do you want to do? It's 5:36.
Oh my gosh, it's 5:36. Well, given that we had some interruptions, do we have some other questions? This is like not even working.
Well, it's because there's a hump in that chair. It's not a solid.
Okay, when we have a new stand. You know what? We're doing these from the home office from now on. We're firing this office.
Oh goodness. Hi guys, this is the most you probably have ever seen me on here. Okay, don't touch it. Just leave it alone.
Okay.
Sit where you want to sit. You sit where you want to sit. Everybody's loving us. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. So look, you're right there in the middle of the shot. There's absolutely no reason why you need to touch it. they're saying these are good bloopers. I'm gonna totally go screen record all of these, and you're gonna see them.
All right.
Especially everyone's saying like, "Hey guys, remember the time that JJ dropped a GD bomb on, on live TV?"
Yeah, that was terrible.
Okay.
That was terrible.
So here's our question.
All right.
You're don't touch anything. This is from, I think Ronald's still on. Ronald is still on.
Okay.
Weekly Virginia PUA application has a question. Did you receive PPP funds for the week? My PPP loan disbursement was on May 11th, so I inputted the entire amount into that answer. Since then, I have been answering no to that question. Should I have divided the amount by 8 and input that amount for 8 weeks of my PUA from May 11th until July 6th? If so, would you recommend I fix it? Would that preclude me from receiving the paltry $158 PUA disbursement until the week ending after July 6th?
Well, the true answer to that is I'm not sure, because every state is massively inconsistent. I know in Arizona, the unemployment office really trying to help. They had indicated to one of our viewers to do what you had said in terms of you take it, divide it by 8, No, not even the full amount. You take the line 31 divided by 52 times 8, and then whatever that weekly amount is out of that amount to put that in, okay? But that was Arizona, and it's not even in the written form. And then I don't think it was your state, but there are 2 other states that ask it in the same exact way, which is, did you get PPP funds this week? So I'm not going to have the answer for you, and I get the sensitivity of the answer, and I get that by answering it one way or another way, what is it costing you? And so I'm just saying I'm giving you some friendly thoughts on it. So just take it as just, you and I are having some water, and you just met me at Starbucks and you asked me a question, and I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are on it. And I'm not going to answer this. I'm not answering this in a way that is meant to take advantage of the system, but I think you did it right. I think you did it right. I mean, it said, did you get PPP funds this week? You answered it perfectly correct. You put the full dollar amount in. If there's nothing on point or even alluding to that you're supposed to take that and divide it by 8, I don't think that you should. I think that you did it properly. I mean, that's what I've been saying from the beginning is whatever your state asked, just literally answer it as it was asked. And so I don't think it's cheating the system to go, well, I didn't receive PPP funds this week. So I really feel like if they were wanting you to divide it out, that they would be clear on it. Now I even say, I believe with Arizona, now I haven't looked at Arizona. This was based on somebody's comment or email that they were just passing along and say, hey, here's what I found out in Arizona. But I don't believe that was in writing at all because it was based on a discussion. Typically what I would say happens, so this is pure speculation. This would be a total guess. We're not going to find it in writing anywhere. But what I think could happen is with this Flexibility Act that we're getting, that just kind of end up going out the window in terms of, well, if you got PPP as a self-employed and now you have 24 weeks to use it, surely that doesn't mean you don't get PUA for 24 weeks. So I think they're going to have to address this. But my pure speculation, guess, would be it wouldn't affect you in the sense that I don't think you'd have to return your PUA. I think what it could be is that part of your PPP wouldn't be forgiven. Let me be clear for those that are maybe just kind of listening in. Nowhere does it say that. Nowhere is it inferred at all that it says that anywhere. I'm just saying somehow they're going to come up with a way to rectify this. And I think the way they'll rectify it is, okay, you got your PUA, you got PPP. We're not going to ask you to return the PUA. Now, this is for the self-employed. So it's going to reduce down your forgiveness, because that's what they did with the Eidl. That's why I think it could work out that way. So why am I also telling you that? If there's a reckoning, for lack of a better word, on it, I think it would be later, right? Who knows? It would be later that somewhere on the forgiveness application, potentially for the self-employed, there would be a calculation. It's not there now. I'm a lone ranger on this, but it would be somewhere there on the PPP forgiveness application that you, in essence, would get a reduction of your forgiveness on your PUA. And why am I going on and on about this? Because I do feel like for the self-employed, that the PPP is just not enough for most. It's just not. I mean, if you're netting 100 grand on your Schedule C, please go watch my video about why you should not be a Schedule C. But if you're netting 100 grand on a Schedule C, you are massively in the minority, meaning most people that have a Schedule C are netting probably under 50,000, probably under 40,000. And so for me, I feel like the self-employed need that PUA. And that's why I really wish that they would clarify this for the self-employed. So it's a really long way of saying, in my opinion, that means nothing. You know, I mean, you wouldn't be able to say, and I know that you're just asking for my opinion. I think you did it right. I would just pay close attention, you know, that if the question changes, you know, just to really pay attention to that question. They might reword it. They might ask differently. So just be sure. But if it says, did you get PPP this week, and you put the full amount, I feel like you've given full disclosure to them. And if there's any kind of reckoning, I'm just repeating myself at this point, I think it would just be a reduction in your PPP. But think of this. I know that immediately the knee-jerk reaction to, well, that's not fair, that I might get a reduction in my PPP forgiveness, is that it does say in the SBA guidelines that, you know, these are really the same purpose. So to me, it's like, I mean, if you get a reduction, at least you got the money now. That's my whole point, is if you're needing that PUA, then you should get it, and you deserve it, and that's what it's there for. And so many times with this PPP, you know, we've got somebody that we're working with, and you know, their PPP was going to be maybe $1,800. And it's like, gosh, is this going to really affect what I get to collect from PUA for 8 weeks? Meaning I'm only going to get $1,800, and then the rest of the 5 weeks, I'm not going to get anything, in essence of how this would work out in terms of the math. So tough call on that. So anyways, thank you for that question, and appreciate it. What else? We gotta maybe we do two more, because we have had our technical difficulties. Thank you for sticking with me on this.
Okay, this is from Nelson, and he said, mileage of your vehicles, is it a qualified expense that you can use for EIDL money on?
Okay, can you tell me if you're self-employed?
Make sure.
And are you reimbursing yourself for it through a business? So if you're self-employed, it's going to be, in my opinion, the EIDL is for actual expenses. So if it's for you, it would be the gas and the insurance. And, you know, not really the repairs. If you saw what I was answering for our wonderful viewer that drives a truck, I talked through kind of the differences between repair and maintenance. But I don't think the mileage would count. However, if you're a business and you're reimbursing one of your employees, I think it counts. because in essence, that's an ongoing expense for the business to its employee. If you've normally reimbursed yourself mileage, meaning you're a a W-2 employee, you reimburse yourself mileage, then I would think that you could consider to do that because it'd be a continuing, ongoing cost. So when you're looking at EIDL, and yeah, I guess we put it in there a while ago. I feel like the mileage, did they answer? I was wanting to know if they were self-employed.
Didn't answer. Oh.
Okay.
He says, by the way, I'm an Uber driver. So.
Okay. Won't count, it'll be your actual. And hopefully you're back to full capacity soon, if not now. You might look, I did a video specifically for Uber and Lyft drivers. I don't know if you could find it, but I did 2 videos, and they talk about I talk about the deductions and tax return and your Schedule C and what to include and some ideas. So it's even beyond the PPP. If you just go to my full video list, I did it a couple of months ago, and but in the thumbnail, I have the logo of Uber and Lyft, and you know, I'm not sponsored by them, but I put it in there so that you guys and gals will be able to find it.
All right, our next one is, oh, it popped me down. Okay, sorry, it popped me back down, so I have to scroll back up to find where I was. This is from Davalia.
Okay.
Question on the PPP forgiveness I have is the following. If the owner-employee didn't take any salary in 19, can they take a salary this year from the PPP loan and get forgiveness?
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning, so it's okay you weren't here. But the short answer is you can pay yourself, but it won't lead to forgiveness under the current guidelines. So I did a video on it, and we put a link in it. You might look. We did a couple of different times on the link. But it really is based on 19. And I think the reason for it is they're looking at it as, well, we don't want owners to let their employees go and then make up the payroll by paying themselves. And I know it's really unfair because we have somebody that's a listener, viewer, and they own a business, and they normally work 10 hours a week in it, like legit work 10 hours a week on it. But because of everything that's going on, they had to be in there 40 hours a week. And initially, they were like, well, can I pay myself? And I was like, yeah, because you are legitimately paying yourself, meaning you usually work 10, you're now working 40 if you can demonstrate that. But then I went back and found that email. I went back and found that email to let them know that the guidelines came out on May 22nd, and they were like, no, it has to be based on 2019. So whatever that owner paid themselves in 19, that'd be the max. And they go so far as to state, you take 19 divided by 52 times 8. So there's not even a way to go, well, you know, part of the year I paid myself this, and the other part this, and this part this. It's, what did you pay? So anyways, I think we're stuck with that. All right, maybe we do one more. I see you stop, collaborate, and listen. I love it. Let's see. Yeah, I love it. Greg says, while JJ is away, the answer is.
Carol says, if someone only pays commission, then how do you assign FTE to them?
Yeah, you know, what I was reading is in that same publication, I see Carol said that, okay, she went and saw the OR. Isn't that, real quick though, Carol, isn't that crazy? I won't name the president, but we all know what the president is that I'm referring to, not politics. But, you know, there was a president once that said, what's the definition of is, right? Wasn't that they went to court over? It's like, well, what's the definition of is? So it's like, isn't this crazy, Carol, that we're looking at the and the or. I know with the tax code, we do look at that stuff, but I know Tony down in Florida was like, what in the world? We got and here, we got or over here. So anyways, but so Carol wants to know on the FTEs. So I did, you probably saw it, Carol, because you watch every video of mine, which I really appreciate. In that video that I did, now I didn't talk about this one in that video, so it's a good question. But in the video that I did about FTEs, I think it was like, what's an FTE? When they talk about those that got tips, when they talk about, and I think it might have even said commission, that you go with what their normal hours would be or their average hours would be. And it felt like it really alluded to it being that you can count them as a 1 or you could count them as full-time unless you could really point to, they only work 20 hours a week. And I think really the language on it was to the extent, and I guess when we shut that down, that took down well, I won't look for it, Carol, but take a look at that section on the FTE, and I think you will find a section about that talks about it. Oh, I see. See, I'm not even used to. Did everybody see? Look at this at the office. I just have one of these. That's this big computer. I mean, it's just
awesome.
one
just
screen.
One big screen.
So, but I'm not used to it. And so, okay, Carol, since that's our last one. Was that our last one? Hang on.
That's our last question.
Okay, well, hang on. Let me just see if we go to, if I can find the answer in 30 seconds. Okay, so who do we need to say have a great evening to? You can start that because it's Jason knows and CSR and everybody.
Well,
like I
those
take
are
two.
my 2 top guys I was gonna say goodbye to was CSR and Darkwater Megs, as well as Rob and Ronald and Daryl Dugan, CPA.
Daryl.
Stacy and Glenda with Leah and Mike and Dax and Tony and Alyssa and Denisha and Deval and and Kelly Thomas. See what I'm doing? I'm just shouting out their names.
I see. Okay.
It's like call and roll. And then we have Carol. And we have a lot of the sames. And we just really, 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 really appreciate you guys. And Paul, yes, that's so funny. He thought there was an earthquake. And if you guys notice, Jason at Darkwater Megs, the talent is touching the equipment again. So if it goes out.
What?
He was like, and this is when the talent shouldn't touch the equipment.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Thank you, Debbie, for tuning in, and Lucia and Nelson. We really appreciate you, and thank you for asking the questions, as well as Ravi and Terry and JJ giving new Easter eggs to his cigar by referencing the definition of is.
Yeah.
That's from CSR. And so we really, really, really appreciate Amanda, the producer. I appreciate that, Rob. And I appreciate you too, Jean, as you say that I am the professional speaker. Yeah. And Ronald Gray, peace, love, and see you guys soon. That's right. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow on JJ the CPA's YouTube channel at 9 p.m. Central Time, as we will release another episode of the JJ the CPA reality show.
We are?
Thought we were doing, no.
Well, I thought we were going down once a week because it's taking you 5 hours.
That's right. So
Amanda's having, like, each one of those episodes is getting to where it's taking 5 hours. And so
yeah.
We talked yesterday.
Yeah.
Driving back.
I forgot.
Yeah, that
I was still on vacation mode yesterday.
We're just going to go to Thursday. But real quick, because on that note, Carol, if you're still on, which you probably are, it does say on page, shoot. All right, dang it. So it does say on page 18, right before E, so at the end of D, it talks about, it does not define FTE employee. The approach of measurement is a reasonable and appropriate And then there is another one that says that you can come up and make an assumption based on averages. So it does talk about that and that. And so if you've got someone on commission, they're probably full-time. But one of the things here's what we're working on. Now that we are back in the office, we're looking at, and we've been reading about having a more predictable schedule of when videos are to come out. Yes. And maybe provide a higher quality content. Yep. And so I don't mean higher quality like buying expensive cameras, not that there's anything wrong with that and stuff like that, but if you noticed the video that I released last night, we threw a simple beginning and a simple end. We had a simple little 30-second, and then I actually stopped the video and erased the board, and I think it still ended up being, what, 10 minutes? Yeah. But I covered a lot more information on it.
Robert at Philadelphia Salons.
Robert of Philadelphia Salons. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for making it on. We really appreciate you, and we did do a video where you're on the thumbnail. I think you saw it. But, yes. But part of that is we're thinking about doing a 9 p.m. release. Yes. And a 2 p.m. release each day. So we're going to be working on it this week. And so anyway, so bear with us. You know, normally we're randomly dropping videos. And if you know me, I was like dropping 3 at a time. And sometimes they're at midnight. And so we're going to try and come up with a more predictable schedule so that you know when they're coming out. And I've been playing around with some of the videos. One of the reasons that I released as many videos as I did this weekend on the bookkeeping and the financial statements, to be honest, a number of those I had been recording over time. And some of them I'd been holding them off, and I was just going to release them one at a time, once a week, but no one's seeing them. So I decided to just do a blitz. And so we don't have any videos in the hopper, so to speak, where normally we would have videos in the hopper. And so I think if we have a more predictable schedule, we go to maybe 2 videos a day then if there's something hot, we'd add a video, but we're going to try and come up with that. So the reason I'm saying all that, I don't know why I was so long-winded about it, is that, you know, when do you all usually watch videos? I don't even mean mine. Just when are you usually on YouTube? When would it make sense? And I know a number of you, which I so appreciate. I know for sure. I mean, there's a number of them. Probably Carol, Flying with Colors. You know that they've got the notifications on that if we drop a video or we go live, and there's a number of, you know, probably Rob. Then I feel like, you know, you're knowing when the videos are out, but the rest maybe aren't. So what am I not answering?
No, he's not answering when he's on here watching videos.
Oh, God.
and Glenda says 24/7.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we think we're going to release one at 2 p.m. Central Time, as well as 9 p.m. Central Time. And then we also have the reality show, and that's going to go on Thursdays at 9 p.m. So we're going to be on the prime time schedule. You know how, like, that's when Friends came on, wasn't it? Was 9 p.m. on Thursday, because that's the hot spot. So we're going to compete with all the big cable, you know, network channels, so that way we can bring you guys over here. And so
I like what Ronald Gray said. I'm okay with your spontaneity because it's so fluid. So, well, and I appreciate that. And we definitely, you know, things pop out. So we see 5 p.m. I see all of them. Thank you. Thank you for having the notifications on. Duvall, I check every 3 to 4 hours for your new. Wow, thank you so much. You are friends. That's right, Paul. Paul's been with us a long time.
Yes.
From the beginning. A number of you all. Let's see. Carol says early. Glenda says 24/7. Thank you. Let's see. And then someone said after 6 p.m. But then there was one. Oh, okay. And then Sonny said between 9 and 4. So that's probably 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. then, obviously.
Yeah, 9 to 4 p.m.
9 to 4. Okay. Okay. And then let's see. Well, don't want you out of the shot. All right. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you so much for the quick feedback on that. And then, okay, so Mike Fisher, I check for new videos every couple days, 0700. Fred, have a super week, you too.
Bye, guys.
Let's see, CSR, I think I will smash a thumbs up and subscribe. I love it. New here today? That's right.
Yeah, CSR's new.
Yeah.
He's new here today. This is his first time watching us. We appreciate you, CSR. Thank you for coming on, and we hope that we see you again.
Yeah, and I think he's saying if you're new here today, subscribe. Maybe not, but I'm going to take it that way.
Okay, yes. If you are new here, then make sure that you
Yeah.
are subscribed, and then we will see you guys. We will be live on Friday at 4 p.m. Central Time for our happy hour. And what is I think our word should be...
Someone said I can't remember what.
Started with an F.
Yeah.
It wasn't forgiveness. It was, what's the other word? Flexibility?
No.
No.
We'll have to go back and look.
We can.
We can't?
No, we can't go that far back. Who was it? Flexible. That's what it was. Flexible. Yes, we will have to do potato one time. Card
Shop said, Daryl Hannah must have dropped by to thumbs down. Damn you, Darian from Wall Street after the mermaid for Splash.
Thank you, Glenda. Yes, you guys don't forget to go by my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. I will drop another link, but it is The Amanda. And so that way you guys can keep up with the Group 300 videos. So thank you for everybody. We got Dax and D-Bath, or no, B-Dath, and Alyssa and Duvall and CSR and Kelly and Jason and Daryl. Let's see. Yeah, some call IT. I love it. And Paul, thank you so much. Paul says the word should be Amanda. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. And let's see, we got Ronald. Thank you so much. And Debbie and Lazar. And Lucia. No. Lucia. Why wouldn't I know how? Lucia. Okay. Yeah. And let's see. And Nelson, thank you so much. And thanks for the question. And Terry D. And Jay the Driver J. I love it. And let's see. Denissa. And let's see. Oh, good. We got her. You know what? How awesome. We got a troll. I was feeling a little lonely. Oh, yeah, earlier today, Cortiva, we had two. I'm assuming, Cortiva, message deleted. Yeah, we had two. Carol, and, okay, it's Carol that pays a solution based on services and products sold. Gotcha. Probably full-time. Glenda, so great. Hassan, oh, God's Dozer. God's Dozer? God's Dozer. I see one right there. Call me Mick Big you've been Swig. So quiet. I didn't even see you sneak in. I know. We had quite a bit of issues here. We got Hassan and Sheila, and let's see. Oh, and it just popped. Fred. All right. I've tried to hit everybody. Sam. Let's see. Glenda and Tony and Emroth, and I think I said Denisha. And Brian, thank you so much. I'm reading for another office live stream, thus Thursday when you get the new internet, no doubt. Let's see. You know you're a YouTube star when the trolls drop in. I appreciate that, Ronald. Made my day. All right, we got G-Phil Jack Pop to It. All right, we appreciate you all. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you Friday live, and we're going to try and do more Q&As. That's right. And so if you notice today, I got right down to business. We did. I'm very proud of you. And trying to get a lot more. I probably need to work on not being so long-winded. No, you do an amazing job. Oh, well, thank you. All right, CSR, we appreciate you. Bye, we'll see you all. Ronald, thank you so much, and Sam. And thank you all so much for everything. Talk to you all soon.